So, in your previous lecture of Python, we had seen which topics we are going to cover in the entire syllabus. Okay, today we will first see installation of Python, how it is done, so that even at your side also you can what you can say download and install Python software so that you can practice the programs which are given or which are discussed during the lecture, or also it will be useful for your practical session. Okay, so we will just check out. Is the screen visible? Okay, so in address bar or in Google search window, you have to type Python, and then you have to select the website www.python.org. Okay, now in downloads section, you will get the latest version of Python. Now this is the latest version 3.9.4. Okay, now 3.9 plus versions, they cannot be used on Windows 7 or earlier. So you can view full list of downloads over here, and you can download the appropriate version according to your what you can say operating system. As you click on the button, your executable file, it will start getting downloaded. Once you finish downloading, you have to double click on the executable file, and you have to select install now. Before that, you have to check both the options, add Python 3.9 to path. You can select the necessary options and you can click on install, then it will start getting installed. Okay, so now your Python is installed successfully. You can find it in C drive, program files. There is a Python 39 folder which contains executable file. So in command prompt, you can check the version. You can type Python space hyphen hyphen version, and you will get the latest version of Python which is installed in your machine. Or else you can type py space hyphen hyphen version, and you will get the same answer. Now if you want to print statement as it is, then in Python you can use print command. So you can write print in parenthesis in double quotes. You have to write Amit Thinks YouTube channel followed by semicolon. Now this semicolon, it is optional. Even if you don't give, your program will work. Okay, now as soon as you will hit enter, you will get the output Amit Thinks YouTube channel. Okay, now see, this is command prompt, but we will not be using command prompt. We will be using Python software, which is Python IDE. Okay, so in start menu, you have to type IDLE. Now this IDLE is nothing but integrated development learning environment. Okay, so it will provide you the environment with which you can run your Python scripts or Python programs. Okay, so over here, this sign which you can see, three greater than symbols. Okay, they are. This is called as prompt. Now prompt, it indicates you. It is always used in Python for writing down new statement. This prompt, it indicates you your ideally Python, it is ready to accept new commands. Okay, if you are not able to view this prompt sign, okay, that means your some of the programs, they are incomplete. Okay, some statements are incomplete because of which your Python is not able to accept new commands. Okay, so if in print statement you are writing in double quotes, say Amit thinks, then you will get the output. Now check for output, you will not have prompt sign. Okay, after that you are getting prompt sign, that means your ideally Python, it is ready to accept new statement. Okay, now this was interactive mode. You are typing the statement and immediately you are getting the output. Okay, but if you are saving, if you are creating a new file, you are writing data into the file or program into the file. Okay, then you can rerun the file for infinite amount of time, and that is called as script mode. Okay, so let me show you. I have installed Python. See over here, if you are typing now, see in recents, I have found ideally Python. I have to double click on it. Okay, this is prompt. If I'm printing SYIT 2. Okay, as soon as my statement is completed and I am hitting enter, immediately I am getting the output. Okay, if I am typing 1 plus 1, immediately I am getting the result. Okay, this is interactive mode. Now, if suppose I am creating a new file, and over here, if I am typing, okay, now I am saving the file with name syit2. Okay, I don't have to use the extension .py. .py extension specifies Python files. Okay, but since save as type given as Python file, then you don't have to explicitly use .py extension. Okay, so I will save this file. Now for executing the file, I have to click on run option, and I have to select the first option, that is run module, or else you can press F5. Okay, now this is the path where file is saved syit2.py, and this is the output. Okay, now if I am closing this ideally, then whatever you will type in interactive mode, that will disappear. Getting it? But since your file syt2.py is saved, you can rerun the file for infinite amount of time, and that is the use of script mode. Getting it? If I'm closing it, and if I'm also closing the file, okay, suppose I'm again opening ideally Python. Now whatever was written in interactive mode, that is vanished completely, but you can open the file which you have created, which is syit2, and you can run this file for infinite amount of time to get the output. Okay, so this is the advantage of writing bigger programs into the file. And writing program into the file, it is called as script mode. Writing program in IDLE is called as interactive mode. Is it clear to everyone the difference between interactive mode and script mode? Now we will see the first chapter, the way of the program. Okay, so the goal of this book is to teach you think like a computer scientist. Okay, why? Because computer scientist, the to the computer scientist, the problems will be submitted. Okay, then they use problem solving mechanism to find out the solutions. Okay, that is the reason it is said that the goal of this book is to teach you think like a computer scientist. Okay, this way of thinking combines some of the best features of mathematics, engineering, and natural science. Like mathematicians, computer scientists use formal languages to denote ideas. Like engineers, they design things, assembling components into systems, and evaluating trade offs among alternatives. Okay, the single most important skill for a computer scientist is problem solving. Problem solving, which means that the ability to formulate problems, think creatively about solutions, express a solution clearly and accurately. So, as it turns out, the process of learning to program is an excellent opportunity to practice problem solving skills. That's why this chapter is called The Way of the Program. Okay, So on one level, you will be learning to program a useful skill by itself. On another level, you will use programming as a means to an end. So as we go along, that end will become clear. Now Python programming language. So a programming language you will learn is Python. Python, it is an example of high level language. So other high level languages you might have heard of are C, C++, Perl and Java. Okay, so high level languages, these are nothing but the human understandable languages. Okay, so C, C++, Java, Python, these are all high level languages. Low level languages, they are machine understandable languages. So they are called as machine language or assembly languages. Okay, you are very well aware about both high level as well as low level languages. So loosely speaking, computers can only run programs written in low level languages. So programs written in high level language, they have to be processed before they can run. Okay, so firstly, high level languages, they have to be converted into low level language, and then the processing would be done by the computer. So this extra processing takes some time, which is a small disadvantage of high level languages. Okay, but the advantages are enormous. First, it is much easier to program in high level language since it is human understandable language. Programs written in high level language, they take less time to write, they are shorter and easier to read, and they are more likely to be correct. High level languages are portable. What do you mean by portable? Portable languages. What do you mean by that? Portable, it does not mean easy to use. Portable is something which can run on any platform, okay, and it is independent of configuration. So no matter which configuration of the computer you are using, no matter which platform you are using, you have to run the same application and it will give the same output even on different kinds of computers. Okay, so they can run on different kinds of computers with few or no modifications. Low level programs, they can run on only one kind of computer and they have to be rewritten to run on another. Okay, now over here the difference is given that you have source code, interpreter and output, and then you have a compiler in the second diagram. Can you tell me in brief what is the difference between compiler and interpreter? Compiler and interpreter. Yes, tell me quickly. What do you know about compiler and interpreter? So interpreter, it translates the program line by line. So even if there is any error or there is any problem, then immediately the problem will be raised or an issue will be raised. In case of compiler, it reads all the lines of program first and it gives the errors collectively. Okay, so source code, hence it in case of interpreter it translates line by line. In case of compiler, firstly the entire source code is converted into object code first. Okay, in Java it is also called as bytecode. Okay, then it will be given to a software which is an executor and it gives the output. Okay, so interpreter, it reads high level program and executes it, meaning that it does what the program says. It processes the program a little at a time. Only one statement or one instruction will be executed or will be processed in case of interpreter, alternately reading lines and performing computations. Okay, a compiler reads the program and translates it completely before the program starts running. So in this context, the high level program is called as source code and translated program is called as object code or executable. Once the program is compiled, you can execute it repeatedly without further translation. Okay, now interactive mode and script mode is explained again. So Shubham had doubt of script mode. Let me tell you that this is interactive mode. Okay, so you can type anything and immediately you are getting the output. Okay, if you are writing a program into a file with .py extension, okay, you can rerun the file for infinite amount of time to get the same output. Okay, now the interactive mode, the programs written in interactive mode will disappear as soon as I am closing this ideally. Okay, but even if I am closing the file and if I am restarting ideally, I will not be able to fetch data on interactive mode, but I can open the file which has been already saved with the name syit.py. I can rerun the file and then also I will get the output. I hope now it is clear to everyone, interactive mode and script mode. Shubham, is your doubt clear? Okay, so the same thing is given over here. Okay, so any commands, if you want to find out any instructions, then you can use this particular website, http://python.org. So working in interactive mode is convenient for testing small pieces of code because you can type and execute them immediately. But for anything more than few lines, you should save your code as a script so you can modify and execute it in future. Okay, now we will quickly see what is a program because you all are having fair idea about what a program is. Program is nothing but a sequence of instructions that specifies how to perform a computation. The computation might be something mathematical such as solving a system of equations or finding roots of polynomial, but it can also be symbolic computation such as searching and replacing text in a document or strangely enough compiling a program. Okay, now it has got different parts. So input, where you can get data from keyboard, a file, or some other input devices. Output, which can display data on screen or send data to the file or other devices. Next, math, which performs basic mathematical operations like addition and multiplication. Conditional execution, which will check for certain conditions and execute the appropriate code. Repetition, where you can perform same action repeatedly, usually with some variation. The next topic is what is debugging. Okay, now programming is error prone. That means if you are programming something or if you are writing programs, then obviously you will tend to make some mistakes. So for whimsical reasons, programming errors, they are called as bugs. Okay, and the process of tracking them down or process of resolving these bugs, it is called as debugging. Okay, now before going for debugging, you should know what are the types of errors that can occur in a program. So either you can have syntax errors, runtime errors, and or semantic errors. Okay, so what do you mean by syntax errors? Tell me what are syntax errors. Okay, if you are writing a program and if you are not following proper rules which should be followed for writing a program. Okay, say suppose over here you are using print statement for printing the statement as it is. Okay, now instead of this print, can you use printf statement? Okay, now the syntax of print statement is print. You cannot use printf instead of print. Okay, so if you are not following rules of the program, then it is called as syntax error. Okay, next type of errors, they are called as runtime errors. Okay, now the syntax is correct, but while executing the program, the errors occur and then they are called as runtime errors. They are also called as exceptions. Can you give me an example of runtime error? Example of runtime error, can you give me? One divided by zero, or any number divided by zero basically. It can be an example of runtime error. So suppose your program is syntactically correct. Suppose your program is accepting two inputs from the user and it is performing division operation. Now the first number provided by the user is say 5 and second number provided by the user is 0. Okay, now your program is not knowing what which values user has provided. Okay, so it will try to perform division operation, but it will not be able to. And such error, if at that point of time, if it is raising, then it is called as runtime error. Okay, next is semantic error. Now in semantic error, the program is syntactically correct. The program does not give runtime error, but the program gives wrong output. Okay, say suppose you are defining add function. Okay, now over here, add function, it has to add two values. Okay, so there should be addition operator, but what your add function is actually doing, it is subtracting values, it is subtracting 2 from 10. Okay, so basically your add function is giving result of subtraction function, and such errors, they are called as semantic errors. Understood? Understood the difference between syntax errors, semantic errors, and runtime errors? Okay, so syntax errors, Python can only execute program if the syntax is correct, otherwise interpreter displays an error message. Syntax refers to the structure of a program and the rules about that structure. Okay, then you have runtime errors. So the second type of error is a runtime error, so called because the error does not appear until after the program has started running. These errors, they are also called as exceptions because they usually indicate that something exceptional and bad has happened. Runtime errors are rare in the simple programs. You will see in the first few chapters. So it might be a while before you encounter one. Then you have semantic errors. So the third type of error is semantic error. If there is a semantic error in your program, it will run successfully in the sense that the computer will not generate any error messages, but it will not do the right thing also. It will do something else. That means add function is performing subtraction. Specifically, it will do what you told it to do. The problem is that the program you wrote is not the program you wanted to write. The meaning of the program, that means the semantics, it is wrong. Identifying semantic errors can be tricky because it requires you to work backward by looking at the output of the program and trying to figure out what it is doing. Okay, so you have to be very careful about that. Okay, so up till now everything is clear to everyone. Yes, now just wait for a while. I have to download your attendance. Every day, unless and until I tell you to leave the system, you have to be present because your attendance is getting calculated. Okay, so If you don't have any doubt, then we can stop it over here. Thank you so much. You can leave now.